Okay, this one is for all of you that feel like you have to hold everything present. All the feelings, all the outcomes, all the responsibility. Okay, so let me say this clearly. As a doula, it is not your job to fix everything. Like, not at all. And so I also have some really important tips that protect you and they protect your clients and they protect your business. So watch to the end. Let's get into it. I made a lot of notes for today because I didn't want to forget anything. Okay, so one of the most important things your doula training should teach you is your scope of practice. And it's important that we kind of like know what these guardrails are for your business. So I'm going to talk about the scope. I'm also going to talk about just like safety things and stuff about you. So we're going to start there with the stuff about you, because there's lots of things that can make our ego really, really, really loud. Like, you are not responsible for the outcomes. You're not responsible for making a birth go a certain way. You're not responsible for people's medical decisions or how staff behave, or all the feelings of all the other folks in the room. And I used to do a lot. I mean, I do a lot of mentorship, but I remember one of the doulas I was mentoring, she used to call me immediately after a birth. Like, she'd be in the cab coming home from the hospital in Toronto, and she'd be like, "Oh, I sucked," and like, would be going through. And my first things, I'd be like, "Have you eaten? Have you slept? Have you had some water? Have you had a shower or a bath? Like, have you like recharged yourself?" Because those are the times when we're reflecting on our birth that, like, oh my gosh, we're the worst critics. And we can feel like we didn't do enough, or we weren't as valuable in the room, or something like that. Oh my god, my hands are so dry, y'all. This like winter weather. Oof. Okay, so being a doula, it is about support, not control. Like, we can't control any of those things. They're totally out of our hands. And how our clients feel about that experience is very different than potentially how we feel looking at their birth. Because we might feel like, oh, they must be disappointed because they wanted this, but they ended here. And sometimes people are like, oh my God, that was so empowering. Like, I saw that I wanted this, but once I was in it, I like trusted my gut and we went here. And so they actually feel really, really great about it. So, one of the things you're not responsible for is kind of like controlling those outcomes. Again, we offer information, we offer physical support, we offer advocacy, and we slow the pace down in the room or in that postpartum period, depending which type of doula support you're offering. But again, we do not guarantee outcomes. So I want to start with that one. And this is where so many doulas get stuck. Like, I love that you are like beautiful, caring, compassion people. Like, that's why we come into this work, and we can super internalize things that are not ours. We can take that all on. And so, like, if a birth doesn't go to plan, that is not a failure of you. And if your clients are making choices, again, that you're like confused by, or they wouldn't be your choices, we really want to celebrate the fact that our clients have made an informed choice and they've used their brain, which, means they've looked at the benefits, they've looked at the risks, the alternatives, their intuition, which is the most important one. And maybe they did nothing or decided no. And that's really awesome. Like, we should be celebrating that instead of, being confused or disappointed on their behalf. So your role is to be supporting the person or the people in front of you. Like, that's really what we're doing. And sometimes doulas can be pulled like we need to be fighting the system. We know the system's broken. It is hot garbage. I want to say a bunch of cuss words, but I found I haven't been cussing on the channel, so I don't know when I'm going to start because I have a potty mouth. So like we know it's broken. It's a pile of shit. Oh, there it is. Okay. But in the time when we're working with our clients, we want to be supporting them and keeping their nervous system as like calm as possible. And it is not the time to challenge the system. It is the time to support your clients in using their voice and keeping them safe in that way. Afterward, y'all, oh my God, burn it to the ground, write letters, blog about it, make complaints, support your clients in filing letters of complaint, like all of the things. So like after, for sure. But in that time when your clients are in there, they're a little bit stuck. So we do not want that environment to feel really stressful for them. So that is not your job to fight the system in that time. I also want to talk about some basic safety for you and your business. So, you're not a medical provider, so we don't diagnose things. We don't do blood pressure checks. We don't, check the cervix. I mean, some doulas do, depending on where you trained, that you do have that. In the UK, for example, it's more common that you would. But for most of us, that's not within our scope. So we need to make sure. And if you have multiple hats, so if you're like, ooh, I'm an RN and a doula, I'm a chiropractor and a doula, I'm a massage therapist and a doula, you really need to decide where you are in that moment so that you're sticking with your scopes when you're doing chiropractic care and your scope when you are doing doula work. I'd also recommend you don't drive folks in your car. Sometimes that can be hard. So I work with a lot of queer people, so I have a lot of single or solo by choice. And so sometimes they don't have the community that necessarily drives them, and we have to figure something out and we convoy. And sometimes, y'all, there's been some clients that have been like, oh, it would be so much easier if I just drove them. And I've stuck with this, and I've supported hundreds of families. I've been a doula for almost 20 years. And it's just the liability is way too high. So that would be a pro tip I want to pass on. Don't lend your clients money. And if you are doing, say, postpartum work, or you're coming to do a postpartum checkup and they text you being like, can you get, I don't know, diapers, formula, and wipes on your way here? We're running low and nobody wants to leave. Then you can say yeah, sure, for sure. Venmo me or email money transfer, somehow put whatever, $80 in my account and I'll bring the change back or something like that. But I would make sure you don't have AR with your clients. That's accounts receivable. So they're paying ahead of time for your services. And I would make sure that you don't ever lend them money. You're also not a babysitter. So if you are doing postpartum work or you're a birth doula doing a postpartum checkup, the family or somebody needs to be there with you. Now, there are a few exceptions. So sometimes my clients are we want to shuffle around the block and they want to try going for a walk. For sure, I'll hold your baby while you shuffle around the lawn. But if they're we want to run some errands or something like that, I would encourage you to stay within your scope, which is not babysitting. I'd also avoid holding babies, just avoid picking up babies obviously with postpartum work or overnight care. That's hard to avoid, but the liability is so high for you dropping someone else's baby. So as a birth doula, I make very little contact with people's babies and children. Okay. Now I want to talk about free birth, which I am not debating free birth or not, to free birth or not to free birth. That is not the point of this. The point is there are more and more hospital units closing throughout the US. In Canada, there's so little access to midwifery care, which means you always have to go to the hospital because you have an OB or a GP. And so home births, it's impossible. I now currently work in 2 provinces and there's no midwives. So free birth is on the rise. There's also a lack of affirming care, safe care. It's a mess right now. So I'm talking about free birth just because more and more folks are requesting them. And I've actually had quite a few clients recently, as I've been talking to them in their consults, I'm do you have a healthcare provider? Do you intend to birth at the hospital? And it is not because I do not support free birth. It's my scope doesn't, and my insurance doesn't. The associations I'm members of, the membership is, I only get to keep my membership if I promise I'm not doing free birth. So I do want to put that out there that is not within your scope. And so if you are expecting protection from your insurance, you need to make sure that it's in there, because a lot of times they'll say they will not support us unless we have the presence of a primary care provider. Now, sometimes it happens I've been at births and babies come before the midwives get there at home, or I've been alone in the room and nobody came, even though I pressed the button, when my client's having their baby. So it was just us alone in the room, but the intention was not that. So I just want to throw out the free birth thing because, it's so hot right now. Again, and I'm not arguing free birth or not to free birth. We're just talking about scope. Okay. And you're also not meant to absorb everybody's stuff. And that can feel really hard, learning those emotional boundaries. that's critical because, you know, none of that is ours to hold. And so caring does not mean that we carry everything. Ooh, that was kind of smooth. Maybe I'll do something with that. But like, that is not for us to hold. And so it's just for us to like witness and like maybe echo back or, you know, show people that we're hearing them. You know, lots of my clients, like once they start, they're like, and this sucks and this is bad and I'm struggling with this. And I'm just like, I can provide resources. But when I leave, I have to be able to like let that go. It's very hard for me as an empath, as somebody who's wants to help all the time. Like I'm an over helper. And so it can feel stressful for me when my clients report that they're like having housing precarity but I can only take it so far. Right. And you might have different issues depending on the population that you're serving. You might have things that are like really common, in which case you might need to create some really great systems that you can like send folks. I don't ever leave my clients high and dry, but like I can't carry all of that. Okay. And so when doula trainings skip these kinds of conversations, this is where we see burnout, because you don't know that. And so you might leave the hospital thinking like, oh my gosh, I failed them. They had an operative birth and that was the only thing they didn't want. Like, you know, all of these things. I had a birth last summer that my client was a non-binary solo parent, and they were very clear the things they like would be devastated if this happened. And literally their birth was only the devastated list and none of the things that they were hoping for, like not a one. But at the end, after a recovery, it was a crash cesarean. It was like very stressful. It was crappy care all around. But to see that they feel really empowered as a parent, and they are surprised of their resilience, all of these things, it was like a great reminder. Like I love when those things are like, oh, right. So many other things came from this. So, you know, it's important that you do understand that. Because otherwise you're going to be replaying client care in your head. I mean, I have some of them. I've been sharing them on Instagram. I share them on my podcast, my haunting birth moments or postpartum moments. I share those like freely so that people can learn from the mistakes that I made. But otherwise you could be looping and wondering like what you could have done differently. And so, you know, understanding what you're not responsible for is a very important conversation for new doulas. And it's a good reminder for those of you watching who are more experienced doulas. Because the reality of this broken system, it is so much bigger than any one of us. And we are like trying to bail out a sinking ship with a soup spoon. So, you know, we're doing what we can with what we're working with. And so, you know, hopefully your doula training did teach you that kind of discernment. Like, this is not for you. This is not for you to hold. And this is where you can help and support and heal. And this is how you stay in the work from understanding that. Okay. The next video, we're going to be talking about choosing your dream client, where to find them, and how to fill your roster so that you have a lot of joy in this work. So we will see you in the next video. Ciao, y'all.